Okay.
Start my pre-trip, I'm going to walk towards my bus, looking under the bus, making sure that there's no hanging wires or any leaks, making sure that my bus is not leaning to the left nor to the right. We're going to start out with our clearance lights. We have 5 amber clearance lights, 3 in the middle, 1 on either side. We're checking to make sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked or broken, and making sure that they are proper colored. Our school bus sign is properly mounted and secured. It is not ripped or torn, and it is visible to read or clear to read. We're also going to look at our 2 warning lights. They are red, and our 2 loading lights that are amber. We're making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked or broken. We're looking at our windshield, making sure that it is not cracked or broken. Making sure that it is properly mounted and secured, and making sure that the rubber seals are properly mounted and secured, make sure they are not cracked, damaged, or broken, or any bubbles, and make sure they are not leaking. We're going to come down and look at our bumper, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, broken, or any illegal welds. Walking towards the bus, we're going to make sure our crossing arm is properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken, and make sure that it works properly. Now I'm going to go around and check all of my mirrors and the brackets, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked or broken. I'm going to unlatch my hood on that side. Walking back around, we're going to look at our turn signals, our reflectors, and our headlights, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked or damaged. And we're also going to do it on this side, making sure that our mirrors are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked or broken. Looking at our windshield wipers, we're making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked, broken, or damaged, making sure that there is no hanging wires or any bare wires. And we're going to go ahead and press on our window, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. I'm going to go ahead and open the hood. We're going to come around to this side of the bus. We are looking at all the hoses and all the wires, making sure that there are no bare or frayed wires, making sure that the hoses and wires are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, broken, or leaking in any type of way. We're going to go down and look at our alternator and our fan, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken, make sure that our fan blades are all in place, and making sure that we are not missing any fan blades, and making sure that they are not cracked or damaged. Next, we're going to look at our water pump and our radiator, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken, and or leaking. We also have our serpentine belt. We are making sure that that is properly mounted and secured, make sure it is not cracked, damaged, or broken. And also, our water pump and our alternator are both belt driven. We are going to come down and look at our frame, making sure that our frame is properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, broken, or damaged, or any illegal welds. We're going to look at our shock absorber, making sure that that is also properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken, making sure that it is also not leaking. We're going to look at the top and bottom bolt, making sure that it is secured, and make sure that there is no rust around the nuts, indicating that they may be loose. Next, we're going to look at our leaf spring. We're checking the back and front bolts, making sure that it is properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or any illegal welds, making sure that there is no rust around the bolts, indicating that they could be loose. Next, we're going to look at our 2 U-bolts holding our leaf spring to the axle, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure it is not cracked, damaged, or broken, making sure that there is no rust around our U-bolts. Next, we're going to look at our axle, making sure that that is properly mounted, secured. Make sure that it is not cracked, damaged, or broken, and no illegal welds on our axle. Next, we have our tie rod. It runs from one side of the bus to the other. We are making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken, and make sure that there is no illegal welds there. Next, we're going to come up and we're going to check our washer fluid reservoir, making sure it's filled to the proper level, making sure that it is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or leaking, and make sure that the lid is on securely. Next, we're going to look at our brake chamber and our brake lines, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or leaking. No improper welds. Next, we have our push rod and our slack adjuster. We're making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, broken, or leaking. And with our slack adjuster, when the brakes are released, we should have no more than 1 inch play. Next, we're gonna look inside. We're looking at the brake shoes, the brake drum, and the brake lining, making sure that it is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it is not cracked, damaged, or broken, and make sure that there is no illegal welds on that at all. Next, we're gonna go to our front tire. Our tread depth should be no less than 4/30 seconds, and we should have 90 psi. No less than 90 psi in our tires. And also, the front tires are not to be recapped or retreaded. Next, we're going to go ahead and look at our sidewall, making sure that it is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, no bubbles. Then we're going to go ahead and look at our rim. Looking at our rim, we want to make sure that it is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken. And make sure that there is no rust or any illegal welds. Next, we're going to go to our valve stems. We are checking to make sure that they are properly mounted and secured, that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken. We're supposed to have a cap on this, making sure that it's secure, so we'll have to get our maintenance guy. Then we're going to check our lug nuts, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure they're not cracked, damaged, or broken. Make sure that they are not loose. If there is rust around the lug nut, it could indicate that they were loose. We're also going to make sure our indicators go in the same direction. Next, we're going to look at our oil hub. We're making sure that all the bolts are properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, broken, or leaking. We're going to go around. We're going to go around to our other side. I haven't got to that yet.
Oh, okay.
Walking around to this side of the bus, we're going to make sure that our DOT inspection sticker is up to date and that it is readable, making sure that it's not ripped or torn in any kind of way that could put our bus out of commission. On this side of our bus, we're going to check again and look at all of our hoses and our wires, making sure that there is no bare wires that could cause any damages. We're looking at our hoses, making sure that they're properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they're not cracked, broken, or any bubbles. Next, we're going to look at our antifreeze reservoir, making sure it's filled to proper level, making sure that the cap is on securely, making sure that it's properly mounted and secured, make sure that there's no cracks, no damages, and it's not leaking. Next, we are going to look at our oil dipstick and our transmission dipstick, making sure that they are properly mounted and secure. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or leaking. Then we have our air compressor. We're making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or leaking. And we also have this little silver thing down here. That is the power steering pump. We are making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or leaking. And the power steering pump and the air compressor are both gear driven. Next, we're going to look at our drive shaft. Make sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, broken, and or leaking. Then we're going to go down to our gearbox. We're making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken. Make sure it's not leaking. We're also going to check the bolts around, or the bolts that secure it. We're making sure that there is no rust, indicating that the bolts could be loose. Then we have our power steering reservoir. We're making sure that that is filled to proper level, making sure that the cap is on securely. We're going to make sure that it is properly mounted and secured, that it's not cracked, damaged, and or leaking. Then we're going to go to our shock absorber, making sure that it is properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or leaking. We're also going to look at the bolt at the top and at the bottom, making sure that there is no rust, indicating that it could be loose. Then we have our pitman arm, our drag link, and our knuckle. We're making sure that the cotter pins are in securely, and make sure that the castle bolts are also on securely, making sure that there is no rust or any illegal welds on them, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured with no cracks or damages. Then we're going to look at our frame, making sure that our frame is properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken, or any illegal welds. Then we're going to look at our leaf spring, making sure that it's properly mounted and secured, make sure that we have a bolt in the front and the back, and make sure that there is no rust, indicating that they could be loosed, making sure it's not cracked or damaged. Next, we're going to look at our U-bolts. We're making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they're not cracked, damaged, or broken, or any illegal welds, and that there is no rust around our U-bolts. Then we're going to look at our axle, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken, or any illegal welds. Then we have this side of our tie rod. This tie rod also connects to the other side. We are making sure that it is properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken, or any illegal welds on our tie rod. Next, we're going to look at our brake line and our brake chamber, making sure that they both are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, broken, and or leaking. Then we're going to look at our push rod and our slack adjuster, making sure that both of these are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked, broken, and or damaged. And with our slack adjuster, with the brakes released, we should have no more than 1 inch play. Then we're going to look at the inside of the tire, looking at our brake shoes, our brake drum, and our brake lining, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked, broken, and or damaged, and that there is no welds on them at all. Then we're going to look at our tire. Our tire tread should be no less than 4/32, and the front tires cannot be recapped or retreaded. And there should be no less than 90 psi in our tires. And to check the tire pressure, if you have to, we use a tire gauge. Then we're going to go ahead and look at our sidewall, making sure that it is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or any air bubbles. Then we're going to go ahead and look at our rim, making sure that it is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken, or any rust or any illegal welds. Then we're going to look at our valve stem, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, broken, and or leaking, and the cap should be secure. Next, we're going to look at our lug nuts, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, or damaged, and making sure that there is no rust around the lug nuts, indicating that they could be loose and that all of our indicators go in the same direction. Then we're going to look at our oil hub, making sure that all the bolts are in place, making sure that it's properly mounted and secured, make sure that there is no rust around the bolts, indicating that it could be loose, making sure that it is not cracked, damaged, and or broken. Then we're going to check our mud flaps. We're going to make sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken in any kind of way. I'm going to go ahead and put the hood back down, and we're going to go to the right side of our bus. We're going to check our service door. We do have 4 kick-out windows. We are making sure that our service door is properly mounted and secured. Make sure that there is no rust. We're making sure that none of the seals and or the glass is cracked, broken, or damaged, and that we don't have any bubbles in our seals. We'll see how the service door works once we go on the inside. Walking down the side of my bus, we have 3 clearance lights. We have 2 amber, 1 red. We're making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken, and make sure that all the pieces are there. Next, we do have 2 emergency exit windows that are clearly marked with reflective tape. We're making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken, and make sure that the windows are clean. Next, our Durham School Services sign. We're making sure that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not ripped or torn. Then going down, we do have 3 reflectors on the side of the bus. 2 are amber, 1 is red. We're going to also make sure that our USDOT sign is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, ripped, or torn, and make sure that it is correct. We do have a turn signal on this side. It is amber. We're making sure that it is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked or broken. Next, we're going to look at our DEF tank. We are checking to make sure that there is no rust on the hinges. We're also going to shake the lock a little bit, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, broken, or damaged. Then we're going to check our DEF cap, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked or broken. I will also look under the bus, making sure that there is no DEF leaking. Also, we have our reflective tape that goes all the way down the length of the bus. We're making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, ripped, or torn. Then we're going to go ahead and look under the bus. When we look under the bus, we are going to look at our drive shaft, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked or broken, and that there is no illegal welds or any rust. We're also going to look at the U-bolt, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked or broken, and make sure that there is no rust. We're also going to look at our exhaust, making sure that it is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken, or leaking, or has any holes. While we're under here, we can go ahead. I'm going to point to the other side, and I'm going to explain to you what's going on with the brake system. We are going to look at our brake chamber and our brake lines, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or leaking, and make sure that there is no illegal welds. We're also going to look at the push rod and the slack adjuster, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken, and make sure that they are not leaking. With our slack adjuster, with the brakes released, we should have no more than 1 inch play. We're also going to look at our brake drums, our brake shoes, and our brake lining, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or have any illegal welds. Then we're going to go ahead and look at our leaf spring, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken, and make sure that there's no illegal welds. We're also going to make sure that there is no rust around the 2 bolts that hold the leaf spring on. Then we're going to look at the frame of the bus, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken, and make sure that there is no illegal welds on that as well. And we're going to go ahead and get up off this ground. And we're going to start with our rear tires. We're going to go ahead and put our hand between the tire, making sure that there is no debris or anything that could catch. With our back tires, the tire depth can be no less than 2 seconds. The back tires are able to be recapped or retreaded, and there should be no less than 90 psi. We're going to go ahead and look at the sidewall, making sure that it is properly mounted and secured. Make sure that there's no cracks, no bubbles, or anything that could cause us to have a blowout. Next, we're going to look at our rim. We're making sure that this is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken. No illegal welds. Then we're going to look at our valve stems. They are going to be on opposite sides. We're making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Making sure that they are not cracked, damaged, broken, and or leaking. And that they have the right metal caps on them. We're missing another one.
Okay.
Then we're going to look at our lug nuts. Making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not loose or broken or cracked. Making sure that we have no rust indicating that they could be loose. And that all of our indicators go in the same direction. Next, we're going to look at our axle hub. Making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, broken, or damaged. We're going to make sure that all the bolts are tightly secured. Making sure that there is no rust around the bolts indicating that they could be loose. And we're making sure that it's not cracked, damaged, and or broken and leaking. Next, we have our little airbag back here. We're making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken. Making sure that we don't have any air bubbles or any tears in it. Then we're going to look at our back mud flaps, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, broken, or damaged. Then we're going to go back here to our diesel tank. We're going to check and make sure that the door hinge does not have any rust on it. Make sure it's properly mounted and secured with no rust. And make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken. We're also going to shake on the lock a little bit to make sure that that's properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked or broken or damaged in any kind of way. Next, we're going to go ahead and check the fuel cap. We're going to go ahead and unscrew it. We're going to make sure that the chain is connected. We're going to check the seal inside and make sure that it's properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, broken, damaged, and or leaking in any way. And then we're going to go ahead and put this back on. We're going to secure it. Make sure it's properly mounted. Make sure it's not cracked or damaged or broken in any kind of way. Then we're going to go around here to the back of our bus. The back of our bus, we do have 5 red clearance lights. We have 3 in the middle, 1 on either side. We are checking to make sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken. Our school bus sign, we're making sure that that is properly mounted and secure. Make sure it's not ripped or torn and that it is visible for you to read. Next, we have 2 red warning lights. We have 2 amber lights. We're making sure that they both are proper. We have 2 red warning lights and 2 red amber lights. Making sure that they are both properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken. We do have 4 knockout windows. We're making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, broken, or damaged. Making sure that the seals are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, broken, and or leaking. Next, we have 2 turn signals that are amber. We have 4 brake lights that are red and 2 reverse lights that are clear. We're making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken. We also have 2 license plate lights that are clear. We are making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, and or broken. We also have our license plate. We're making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken. Making sure that it is up to date and that it is visible to read. Next, we're going to go ahead and open up our emergency door. We're going to check our wind lock, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken, or has any rust. Next, we're going to look at our seals around our door. making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, and or broken, and make sure that there is no bubbles, and make sure it's not leaking. Next, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to show you my heater in the rear. We're making sure that it is properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, broken, or leaking, and make sure that there is no debris that could get caught in the fans. Now the left side of our bus is exactly the same as the right side. There's just a couple of differences. Would you like me to explain those differences?
Yes, look at those.
Okay. On this side, like I said, it's the same as the other. This side, we do have a driver's side window. It's hard to open. There we go. We're making sure that it is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, and make sure that none of the seals are leaking. We also want to make sure that this window stays clean. Next, we do have our stop sign. It has 4 warning lights on it. We're going to go ahead and push this open and make sure that it works properly. Making sure that it is properly mounted and secured. Make sure that there is no loose nuts. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken. And we're also going to make sure that these little wires right here are not frayed or torn that could cause any type of electrical fire. Next, we're going to go ahead and look at our fuse box. Our fuse box, we're making sure that all of the instructions are visible and clear to read. We are going to check our hinges, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken, and that there is no rust on our hinges. Next, we have our seal. We're making sure that that is properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, broken, and or leaking. Our latch, we're going to shake it a little bit, make sure that that is properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken. We do have 6 extra fuses in here, just in case of emergencies. My favorite part, I'm going to show you the battery compartment. Our battery compartment. We are going to make sure that our batteries are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken in any kind of way, and that they are not leaking battery acid. We're also going to look at the top, at the connections, making sure that there is no excessive corrosion, making sure that there is no bare wires, and making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. We're also going to look at our hinges on our door, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken, and that there's no rust around our bolts. We're also going to go ahead and wiggle on the latch, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken. Now let's go ahead and on the inside of our bus. Stepping into our bus, we have our handrail. We're making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken. We also have a stairwell light. It is clear. We are making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or broken. Our steps. We're making sure that we do have a sign posted saying watch your step. Making sure that that is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked or broken. Our stairwell, we're making sure that there's no cracks or any damages that could cause a slip and fall. Then we have our 3 3 triangles. We're making sure that they are properly mounted and secured, and making sure that all 3 of them are there. Next, we have our fire extinguisher. We're making sure that it is properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, broken, and or leaking. We're going to make sure it still has the pin in it. Make sure it has the up-to-date check on it, and make sure it is in the green. As you keep coming up into the bus, we're going to check our head bumpers, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, ripped, or damaged in any kind of way. Then we have our first aid and our body fluid kit. We're checking to make sure that they both are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they're not cracked, damaged, or broken, and that they are fully stocked just in case of an emergency. Then we have our two fans. We're making sure they are properly mounted and secure. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken. We're also going to look at our little wires and make sure that we have no bare wires that could cause any kind of fire or any electrocution. Next, we have our rear view mirror and our visor. We're making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken, and that they are clean to where you can see out of them. Here you can see our windshield wipers. We're going to make sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure it's not, the seals or the rubber is not cracked or damaged in any kind of way, and we'll see how they work later on. We do have 3 security cameras. We're making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken. Here we have all of our important information. Our registration, our insurance, fuel card if we need one. We're going to make sure that they are all properly mounted and secured. And make sure that the plastic holder is not cracked, ripped, or damaged. Next, I'm going to go through and I'm going to check my air conditioners, front and rear, making sure that they are not cracked, damaged, or broken and or leaking, and make sure that they are properly mounted and secured. I do have 4 knockout emergency windows, and we're going to make sure that the buzzer goes off to sound and let us know that they are working properly. We want to make sure that our emergency exits are fully marked with directions. We are also going to check our back emergency door, making sure that that works properly. We're also going to do our child check, and we're going to check the seats and the bottoms to make sure that they are properly mounted and secured, making sure that they are not ripped or torn. And we're also going to make sure that we have no debris in our walkway. Give us a little air.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm checking to make sure it's properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, and or leaking. As I go down, I'm going to check the bottoms of the seats. Window number 1. Making sure that they are all properly mounted and secured. And make sure the buzzer goes off as soon as you pop it open. Here's the third one. Then we're going to go over here to the last knockout window. Open it and pull it shut, making sure that they work properly. Now I'm going to go ahead and check my back emergency door. Making sure that it opens completely and it shuts completely with nothing in the way. We're checking our rear air conditioner, making sure it's properly mounted and secured, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or leaking. Then we're also going to check our back head bumper, making sure that that is properly mounted and secured with no rips or tears. Then we're going to check our child check button. There we go. We know that child check button is working. We're going to, as we walk back to the front, we're going to check the fronts and the backs of our seats, making sure that they are properly mounted and secured. Make sure that they are not cracked, ripped, or damaged in any kind of way. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my driver's compartment. I'm going to sit in my seat, wiggle around a little bit, and I'm going to make sure that my seat is properly mounted and secured. Make sure that nothing underneath of it is cracked, damaged, or broken. And this is an air ride seat, so we're going to make sure that it's not leaking air. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to check my seat belt. I'm going to pull it all the way out and let it go. Make sure that it works properly. Make sure it's not ripped or torn. And we're going to go ahead and lock it. Make sure that it locks properly. And make sure that it's properly mounted and secured. I'm getting hot. I'm going to go ahead and turn my bus on and close my door. And we'll see how the service door works. So my bus is started. It is in the open position, and I'm going to go ahead and close it. And it looks like my door is working properly. So I'm going to go ahead and start checking my switches. Turn my headlights on. Your headlights should be on at all times. So turn them on. I'm going to start over here with my master switch. On, off. My noise. Off, on. I'm going to check my boost pump. On, off. My heated mirror. On, off. Then I'm going to check my rear heater. Low, high, off. Then we're going to do our step well heater. Low, high, off. Then we have our driver heater defrost. Low, high, off. Then we're going to check both of our fans. We're going to do the left fan first. Low, high, off. Then we're going to check the right one. Low, high, off. Next we're going to check our lights. We're going to start out with our headlights being on. Then we're going to start with our high beams. On, off. Our left turn signal. On, off. Right turn signal. On, off. We're going to go ahead and check our windshield wipers now. That is high, low, and we're going to give it a little squirt. Make sure that we have windshield washer fluid. And then we're going to turn them off. Next we're going to do our hazards. On, off. Then we are going to turn our master switch back on. And we're going to check our ambers and our reds. So ambers, on, off, reds, on, off. And could you go outside and check my lights outside?
I certainly will. Put that right there. I think that's correct.
I'm going to open my window to where the instructor can hear me. High beam. Left. Right. Hazards. Amber. Red. Now I'm going to beat my horn to where he knows to go around to the back. Left, right, hazard, amber, red, brake, reverse, now he's going to come back in. Check all of our gauges. Our DEF. Well, here, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the bus off and just leave it in the on position. Oh shoot, you have to have it running for the oil. I'm gonna go ahead and start my bus back up.
And what's your buzzer?
My lights. My child check. Let me go turn off my child check. now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put our seatbelt on. And we're gonna start our bus. We're gonna check our gauges now. Our DEF should be no less than a half a tank. Our water should be between 140 and 210. Our oil level should be between 30 and 60. Our battery volts should be between 12 and 14. Our fuel level should be no less than a half a tank ever. And our air tanks right now should be between 120 and 125. I'm going to go ahead and start my air brakes test. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the bus off and turn it to the on position. Once I do that, I'm going to put my foot on the brake and I'm going to release my parking brake and I'm going to hold my foot on the brake for 1 minute to make sure we don't lose any less than 3 psi. And during that time, do you think that you could go ahead and time me for a minute?
Sure can.
So I'm going to go ahead and turn my bus off. I'm going to turn it back to the on position. Okay. I'm going to now begin to, I'm going to push in my air brake and I'm going to hold my foot on the brake. Could you time me for a minute? Your legs are going to get really tired in this position, but it's okay. It's only a minute. And we're going to go ahead and watch both of our gauges, making sure that we lose no less than 3 psi in this minute. Around now is when your legs are going to start shaking.
Don't forget to work in your interior dash lights.
Our minute's almost up. Once this minute is up, I'm going to fan my brakes.
There you go. 1 minute.
I'm going to start fanning my brakes until the pressure reaches about 60, and then our warning light and our warning signal is going to come on. I'm going to continue to fan my brakes until the pressure reaches between 20 and 40, and that's when my parking brake will pop out. There's our warning light and our warning signal. And next, our air brake should pop out. There we go. Our parking brake has popped out. So now I'm going to go ahead and start the bus. And when we start the bus, we're going to rev the engine to about 10,000 RPM and to build that pressure back up. When the pressure starts building back, between 60 and 85, the warning light and the warning signal will go off. And then once that warning signal goes off, it should take no more than 45 seconds to build up to about 120, between 120 and 125. And then you'll hear our governor go psst. And once it does that, it's letting us know that our air tanks are full and that it has dispersed all the water and oil out of the system.